I've just finished turning the shaft or the column or post for the tripod table with cabriole legs. It has this bulbous turning, and then the cabriole legs fasten with dovetails down here. And then there's this upper section which is in cross section, looking like a cluster of columns, 4 columns. It's a quatrefoil type of design, 4 lobes. If you look at a top view of this column in SketchUp, you can see here the quatrefoil 4-lobed clover-like shape that it's called. And this is 1.25 inches in diameter, and I'm working on carving these shapes out right now. When it was on the lathe, I used the V-tool to cut down a longitudinal channel 4 in 4 places, 90 degrees apart. And then, using this template out of SketchUp, in this case I made the template with back edges style, so you can see more stuff, but just in regular view you see it like this. So I cut a wedge out of here, and in the full-size template I printed this out and then pasted it to a thick poster board, just like I do all the templates here, and then removed one section that looked like that, and then another section with this rounded part, and then I've made a scratch stock, or just a blade here, using some saw blade stock, grinding off the teeth, and then placing these templates and marking the location and shape. I filed out the shapes here, and I'm beginning then to use this tool. I've flattened the faces on a stone so it's fairly sharp, and the first part that I do is to put the V shape into the groove that the V-tool made, and it will deepen this groove and also flatten it out at a higher angle than the V-tool. And that's what I need. Okay. That's probably pretty close, so I may have to do a little bit more than that. And then I'll rotate this 45 degrees here and see if I can shape the coved part of the shape with this curvature. And cutting pretty well. Just coming down, not as far deep up here at the top. It's harder to go this direction at the end here. I may have to turn around and come back to get that. And then I just keep going until the outside edge of this top part here is touching the upper part of the cove cutout here. There'll be some touch-up that I have to do, especially up here at the top, I see. But that really does quickly give the shape. And what I can do is come back here and use the other side and get rid of a little bit more on that face over there. Yeah, that cleans it up pretty well. And a little bit more on this groove. Then I should be able to finish off with the rounding part. Push it in this direction, turn it around and push it in the other direction to finish this off out here at the end. But that's the idea. I'll have a little bit of carving I'm going to need to do with carving tools down here, because this tool just is not going to get all the way up against that bulbous section there. In the bulbous end of the shaft or post are some cove carvings, and there are 12 different sections here. And so in cross section, at the widest portion, 2 5/8 inches in diameter, the cross section would look like this. And these little protrusions, there are 12 of them, every 30 degrees, are 3/16 inch wide, and half of that 3/32 inch deep. So what I need to do is mark this out so that I can carve out these protrusions first. The way I've set up to do that is that the indexing on the lathe here gives me every 30 degrees. So using this flat pencil, I think that's the best way of doing this, is to just make a mark here, and then I have a little 3/16 inch plate that I can mount on the tool rest, and just make another parallel line about 3/16 inch wide. Then I can go to the next index hole on the lathe and make another mark, and then the parallel Alright, so that's, let me do this once more. And I haven't decided how I'm going to make those cuts. I have to cut down on these lines 3/32 inch deep and then gouge out the middle part. So that'll be the next thing to figure out. I'm beginning to shape the bulbous portion of this shaft or post for the tripod table. And if you look at a cross section of this widest portion here, it has these protrusions and then a dished out, coved out section in the center. So how do you go about making that kind of a carving? I start with a V-tool, and I've got some lines on here that I can cut into and make a groove to get the shape of that protrusion, which is about 3/16 inch wide. So I'll have to reverse the position of this to go downhill with a carving tool. Go up there and down there. Let me turn this around, go the other direction, and now I can go downhill with the V-tool. Then the coved out section is in the middle here, and I'll use a number 7 carving tool to start that cove. And again, I'm going to have to turn this around at some point to go downhill. Okay, that's about where I'm going to have to reverse direction. Go a little bit deeper here. It's the number 7 tool. I think it's 12 millimeters. 10 to 12, somewhere in there. And that 7 fits this curvature quite accurately. Working on some scraper blades to help finish out these shapes. I've got this little shape here that I should be able to smooth out some of this cove shape. And then I've worked out a little double cove shape that perhaps I'll be able to just work out these little center protrusion areas with that end of the scraper blade. So that'll be the final touch. Now, number 7 tool, here it is. And then we'll get this. I've ordered another carving tool. Number 7, that is shaped in this way. I have a number 5, but that's too shallow and too wide, so I'm going to order a new tool to help me get this out of this area right in here. This is a small number. This is a number 23 or something. But it's not the right curvature. It fits in there nice. So I'm not going to be able to clean that up real well until I get this new carving tool. Let me just come back with the 7. So you get the idea how that's how that works. So I got to do 12 of these ridges. try to get right up to the edge of these protrusions. It's going to take a little bit of patience to get those all worked out real well. The last thing that I will do is separate this 3/16 with another smaller V tool just to divide that into the two halves. And that's where this little shape will finally round those little peaks.